Hello and welcome to another episode. My name is Ross.
And I'm Greg.
And it's time to put the kettle on because it's tea time. So, should we get to the news? Let's do some news. Let's do some news.
What's the news this week?
Well, in light of our... we were talking last week about earth shots and basically lots and lots of trees is, in my opinion, clearly the easiest answer to this solution. So just on the topic of trees, businesses including Barclays Bank, HSBC and Frontier Airlines have joined the Priceless Planet Coalition, which is an initiative set up by MasterCard to reforest more than 100 million trees. Similarly, the Woodland Trust has this week unveiled a new ambition for planting 50 million trees in the UK over the next 5 years. It planted 4 million trees in 2019. So like a 12x intention this year. Is it this year? I did this year, I don't know.
So it's 50 million in 1 year.
5 years, yeah. So 10 million a year. Did 4 million last year. They should be doing 10 million a year thereafter.
Cool.
So that'll help, won't it?
That sounds a good shout from the Woodland Trust. Bit of a in-your-face to MasterCard, who are only going to plant twice as many trees with massive partners.
So he said, a year on from many big promises and statements about the need for more trees in order to achieve carbon net zero by 2050, they mainly remain just that, words. Says the guy who's just announced some more words. Clearly, he must mean them.
I mean, he has put 4 million trees out there. This is the Woodland guy, yeah?
That is true, yeah, that is true. That's Darren Moorcroft from the Woodland Trust.
Good job, Darren. Many trees.
I feel like Stereophonics should really re-release that song but change some lyrics. Stop talking about burning them down. Right. Also, ShopAppy. Are you familiar with this app?
I'm not.
I can't say I am either, really, but it's launching in Somerset, which is why I'm mentioning it, because that's where I live. Although it's not actually technically in my part of because it's Somerset West and Taunton Council, whereas I'm in South Somerset. But basically, the shops will be given this app free of charge for 12 months. But it's basically sort of trying to encourage local shopping, I believe. So one of the quotes here says, I'd like to think it gives our local economy another way to improve sales and attract more customers in the changing marketplace. I hope local traders will sign up and residents across the district and beyond will support them. So the idea is that the businesses can register and they'll get they get a community officer, which doesn't sound good, but I think it means like someone to help them, to help them load products onto the system and to promote them. So that it could be not just for local produce, it could also be for hospitality and events and stuff like that. So the service was set up, the website says 2916, I think it means 2016, by a Dr. Jackie Mulligan. And she said that we are delighted to be partnering with Somerset, West and Taunton Council on the first launch of ShopAppy.com platform in the county. With our partnership with Visa helping us provide support to more small businesses across the UK, we are certain that this will provide a real and tangible benefit to local businesses and the community. So I don't know much about ShopAppy, but and I can't use it because I'm not in the local area, but it seems one to keep an eye on. Yeah. So watch that space, and if you live in that area, definitely download it, and let us know what you think. Also in news, we have, just because I do like me old technology, I thought I would let you know about a new world first in the shipping world. This is a compressed hydrogen ship.
Okay.
I've got a picture which I can put on the thingy. There we go. I do like doing that little click thing. So basically, Well, yeah. What it says basically, there's this wonderful, beautiful white and green looking ship, and the idea is to develop compressed hydrogen for export and transport to customers demanding access to zero carbon energy. It'll be able to store 2,000 tons of compressed hydrogen, and it's supposed to be clean burning fuel. So that's cool.
I got a few pieces of news as well, which is interesting tech pieces, but also some interesting pieces. So I'll start with a continuation of what we discussed last week with the drone port in Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys are also up to creating unmanned boats, which will also carry those drones out to those wind turbines that we're going to be building many, many more of. And the cool thing the unmanned boats are also going to do is clean the sea of plastic on the way out and on their way back.
Oh, that's nice. How's they going to do that? Do you know?
Just literally collect it as they go. So his job would be to service wind farms, and as they go around, imagine fleets of these things.
Yeah.
Collecting plastic on its way, basically.
I was going to add a plastic cleaning facility to my floating tree Earth shots.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure how it worked, so I left that a bit alone.
Yeah, I mean, just like a fishing net or something, maybe. I have no idea. Yeah. Not really sure exactly how they're doing it, but it's all AI driven. They're entirely autonomous, and the entire point of them is similar to the drones from the drone port. Is doing low risk, but obviously eventually high risk maintenance on wind farms, and yeah, they expect a fleet 20, 30 of these boats to spend months at sea, months. So solar power, perhaps, and completely service these farms while also cleaning the areas of plastic rubbish.
Good.
That's pretty cool. Just setting off his drones. You go fix that. I'm just going to go collect a couple of tons of plastic. I'll see you later.
You want me to get anything from the shops for you? No? Okay, lovely.
Yeah, another one is, so this is from Airbus. So Airbus have developed an albatross, basically.
A bird?
So basically, yeah, this is the first flapping wing aeroplane.
Ooh.
Based on the albatross, and it's actually called the Albatross 1. So
have we got a picture of that? Can I put video? Can I do that?
I do. Yep, you can. There's a video of it flapping too. It's pretty mad.
I really wanted to make that myself. Like if I had any understanding of what the hell I was talking about, I've always wanted to make a bird.
Yeah, you've always talked about a wingsuit, but once you look at the size of these wings, you can see the problem we discussed before. That based on the weight, I mean, the wings need to be enormous. But yeah, they've done it. They've done a successful flight from gate to gate, which is a successful demonstration of this ability that it works. The wingtips themselves are 75% longer than the first demoed test of this plane. I'm not sure if they're actually longer than normal planes. I assume they are. Maybe not 75%. But yeah, but this demo here proves that a flapping winged airplane does work. I mean, it has wings.
Like, bloody hell.
Well, it doesn't suggest that inside is any different. It's just it's more
of. Thanks, I'm all right. No, it's all right. I'll pass.
Yeah. So what albatrosses tend to do is what they're based on is they don't really flap that much. They glide. So they kind of like flap into the wind, down, up to the wind, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So they spend a lot of time, not flapping, more gliding, I suppose, but flapping they need to. So they can surf through wind gusts. And the cool thing about this, what makes it quite sustainable, is that they do it on significantly less energy.
Right. Yeah. What than a
As you,
plane would?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I knew that anyway. That was obviously going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's a significant reduction in fuel, CO2. I mean, everything really. So the main benefit they have is the lift-induced drag. So that's kind of gone. The problem is that they're bigger wings, so they've increased a bit of issue there. But they're trying to figure out exactly how to do it a bit better. But this is the first demonstration, and there's lots more to come.
Cool.
So yeah, keep an eye on Airbus and Albatross 1. Here's a fun one for you. So based on the news we've already had about e-scooter trials in the UK.
Oh God, now what?
Can you remember the 2 cities who launched them and quickly changed their mind? You remember them?
Wait, I feel like I want to say Bristol again.
No.
Was it Bristol? No. Was it up in near London somewhere? Oh, I don't know.
North England. So the first one was Coventry. Coventry successfully launched a 1-year trial and then promptly suspended it 5 days later after people were driving through supermarkets and stuff. Yeah. So the next city who's undertaking this, thinking, yeah, it's a great idea, is Liverpool.
Right.
So they've also launched a 1-year trial, even though they've done it despite obviously the obvious problems of the other trials. But they've done this with a different firm, a Swedish firm called Voi, or VOI, Voi. Okay. So they're hoping to do it a bit differently because they've geofenced the area, so you can't go in certain places. It just turns off.
Okay, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I suppose when you enter some sort of supermarket, it turns off. I'm not sure how clever this is. Apparently there already are loopholes that the geofencing takes 30 seconds. So people are already figured out that you can go in there, turn around, come back out, go back in again. And you got 30 seconds before the thing reacts.
Do that?
I don't know. I mean, in Coventry, they were chasing old people. So this is just what happens. Like, we're in a lockdown situation. What else is there to do?
Cow tipping and chasing on people on scooters, apparently. That's it.
Yeah. So good luck, Liverpool. I hope to hear in a little bit longer than 5 days, if it's lasted.
If not, we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah. Another piece of good green news is, and we have discussed this too, is researchers has come out and basically there's something that will reduce your individual carbon footprint up to 27 times more than stopping flying or going vegan.
Not eating beans.
No, good shout. I'm not sure why beans would be anywhere near the top of that, but
because of the methane that comes out the other end. Was where I was going.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get that.
Me, but whatever.
No, it's actually rethinking your pension into green investable funds.
Oh,
so moving your pension to renewables into green investments reduces the carbon footprint up 27 times more than stopping flying or becoming vegan. So that's a nice little study there. So if you are considering doing one thing for the planet, that does seem to be the thing you should do.
Well, I'm hoping that I might be doing something along those lines in the next, let's say, month. So if I do some stuff on that, I will have to do some research in order to work out where to put the money. So I will be sure to tell everyone else.
I mean, please do. I mean, the first step is you need to get a pension.
That would be, yeah.
But it's investments in general. So yeah, if you can get some good tips, I'm sure that'd be really good to help because 27 times your carbon footprint is a good bang for buck. Okay. Another piece of news is Europe, and Europe is creating what's called a Destination Earth project, which is effectively a digital twin of Earth. So this is a realistic simulation of the entire planet, and they're looking to basically build as a digital twin in order to predict the future of climate change, extreme weather, and help model the environment.
Right. Okay. So they're basically talking about modeling, but they're just going to make a more accurate one.
Yeah. So we're going to start perhaps observing the real world and start doing this virtually in a digital world, which I think makes a lot of sense, perhaps.
Surely they do that already. That's what a model is. It surely is.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Are they just saying that they now think they can make a better one? One that actually,
yeah,
they can.
I think so.
I'm not sure about that, Craig. I'm not sure I'm buying it.
Well, it's an EU thing.
I'm cynical on that one. I don't think that if they can make a better model, then I think they already would. But I think the problem is they don't know everything. That's the issue. That's why we get things wrong.
Well, I'm not sure if we have a realistic simulation to this degree. So think of like SimCity, but for the entire world.
Yeah.
Realistically, I don't think we have that yet. Models do typically exist on a very short window of quantifiable information.
Yeah, but what we got powering this thing? Because surely we'd need some sort of supercomputer.
I imagine you would. Yeah, I think that's the plans. But it's Destination Earth project, and they're looking to build this within the coming months. So stay tuned for that too. And once done, they expect to give it to everyone. It doesn't say for free, but it also doesn't say for cost. They're just saying they're just looking to give it to everyone, from politicians, city planners, energy companies, reinsurance firms, etc., to be able to simulate in unprecedented detail how human and physical systems will change in a global warming world.
All right, that sounds cool. Well,
yeah. Let's see how that gets on. But yeah, as you said, I imagine there's a lot of people doing this already, maybe behind closed doors. Another piece of news. Honda have done something, and nobody knew, and nobody cares. The reason I'm talking about it is because, for that exact reason, that nobody even realized and nobody even cares.
Oh.
They've stopped selling diesel cars in Britain.
Oh, what? As a little test, was it? See whether we'd notice.
No song or dance. They just stopped doing it.
Yeah,
that's it. You can't buy a diesel Honda anymore. New ones, obviously, you can still get second hand. So
wonder why they did that then.
Well, they're going all in on their new Honda E, I suppose.
Yeah, but why not take the opportunity to say we're not doing this anymore? We're not going to do this anymore. No, we know the answer to that one already. We probably know the answer to that already. It's probably to do with because there's not much difference between petrol and diesel in terms of the damage to the planet. So if you start talking about how diesel's terrible, we know petrol's not that far behind, then they probably would trash their sales of their petrol cars too.
Yeah, I suppose so, because they are still selling petrol cars, and they do all things, and mainly the electric cars. So they are still selling petrol, but they've removed diesel-powered cars.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? If they were to turn around and go, yeah, we're not doing any more diesel cars, it's horrific for the planet, we're not doing it anymore. Then people go, yeah, but is petrol that much better? Well, not really, but we're still selling them.
Yeah.
Why? Because we make tons of money, that's why, you idiot. We haven't finished building our Honda E yet.
Yep, but I just like the fact that, nobody cares and no one's really noticed, except obviously the news article.
Yeah. Now all the people listening to us. So basically, it's like nationwide now.
Well, I mean, if you have a diesel-powered HRV crossover, whatever they are, I've never seen one of these things. You have one of those, they're now no longer available in the UK. Oh. Maybe you can get some money for it. Last piece of news. The UK is about to start something they promised they would do last year. The first tests of autonomous vehicles.
Are they?
Do you remember we discussed that's something we would be doing it this year? I think we discussed this a few months back, actually, about this is something we would look to do this year. And the cool thing is they're actually doing it.
Where? Do we know?
Yes, they're using basically, they got 24 kilometers of public roads and boroughs in Greenwich, where they're testing this right now. But the cool thing is they're using technology I didn't actually consider they would use. They're using 5G.
Okay.
So this can be a 5G powered, controlled, enabled, whatever, autonomous vehicle. And this is the first UK test using completely driverless cars. They can use satellite and 5G technology, and it's part of a 4-year program which has started now and will continue to prove the viability of this on British roads. It's supported by O2 and the European Space Agency.
All right.
And currently there's 2 Renault Twizy.
Yeah. Or Twizio. Twizio. Is it not going to know in the end?
TWIZY. Twizy.
Okay, Twizzy. Yep, fine.
Well, they got 2 of those things. Basically, they converted them into CAVs, chucked a LiDAR on it. And this now is remote controllable and autonomous, driving around the Hartwell campus and that 24 kilometers of road they have in Greenwich.
Right. Okay.
So
I feel like I could have done a little bit easier. Just, let the Model 3 do what it already can do rather than some 5G enabled LiDAR system.
I mean, what is a Renault Twizy? I've never heard of them.
It's just a little tiny just a small box of a Renault car. Yeah. I just think I know I'm a Tesla fanboy and all that sort of stuff, but just the idea that LiDAR is going to be the answer, I still don't know why. I still don't get why people still think that's the best way to do things.
Probably because it's cheap.
But it's not cheap.
I thought LiDAR's very cheap these days.
Well, compared to a camera.
Yeah, but all the AI tech, they haven't got that, have they?
Yeah, but
it's easy to LiDAR, like a Connect.
You still need the tech. You still need the AI tech to understand what the LiDAR can see.
Well, I suppose that's what it's going to take 4 years to develop. But one cool thing I've never heard Tesla do, which they're reporting to do, or at least consider, is they are purposely going to factor in trees into route calculations to basically drive past them and allow the trees to offset the carbon out of the cars. So they're going to factor in carbon capture as part of a route. And that will be the prime reason for that route over time, distance, and fuel efficiency. I find that quite interesting. Like if I go 5 minutes off the motorway here, I can go through a forest and offset my carbon.
Does that actually make any sense?
I don't know.
I mean,
how does it not?
Well, okay. So does the tree need to be near the crap that comes out of your car in order for it to absorb it? If we're talking about the carbon element, then that's just in the atmosphere. Doesn't matter where you put it, does it?
I don't know. How do trees capture carbon? How does that happen? I mean, does the car go woof, straight up, or does it hang around for a while?
That's what I mean.
The trees can hungry hip, all that stuff. I don't know.
I don't imagine that they are struggling to find carbon in the atmosphere. They're just breathing it in all the time, aren't they? And also,
I have no idea.
What about the toxic stuff that comes out of it? I mean, it's better for humans if they drive in near trees, so that we don't have to breathe those toxins in because which link around.
Maybe that's the angle.
But to try and pretend it's a carbon capture thing, I don't know if that's true. I don't know whether that's actually going to make any difference.
But carbon capture is what they're doing. Primarily, they're calculating these routes. They're trying to build up some sort of algorithm to determine last mile deliveries. So O2 purposely wants this technology and research to help its retail partners. So, for example, getting something delivered from Amazon, that last mile to your house from the station to the depot.
Yeah.
It can be done in a carbon captured way.
Yeah, or they can use electric car.
Well, until that comes available.
They are available. Just that they just use a Renault Twizy, whatever that is.
Yeah, so I suppose they're not expecting everyone to use those Twizies or whatever. Like the things they're looking to help aren't electric cars. They're looking to help petrol cars. That research they can have there, the algorithms to decide carbon capture routes would be used for petrol cars and diesel cars.
Sounds dumb to me. Like, is it worth driving an extra 2 miles down a scenic route past some trees than it is to go straight there? Surely the shortest distance is the better one.
That's exactly the research they're doing. So I'm sure there's a lot of maths involved, and they'll find a model that works. Maybe only a mile of that greenway would be good.
Or don't spend all the money on the developers and all the research and just plant some trees.
Yeah. Plant some trees and use a Model 3. Job done.
Yeah, move on.
Cool. That's all my news. So what are we discussing today, Ross?
Well, I've gone in a slightly different direction today, Craig. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a different thing today. Well, so I got the idea because I was looking up at the sky the other day, because a couple of weeks ago, on October the 6th, Mars. Are you familiar with that planet?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, well, it was as close to the Earth as it is every 2.2 years. So every couple of years, the orbit sort of starts to sync up with us, such that at one point, Mars is a matter of about 38 million miles away.
Okay.
So if you were to leave, because there's a point about every 2.2 years where the orbits get a little bit close and then it's sort of distance apart again. If you left in July of this year, late July, early August, and you got in your little rocket ship, then by the time this point happens, so if the two planets are sort of doing that past each other, then you send off a little ship here, and by the time it gets about here, then it's got not too far further to go. And they did do that. In fact, the NASA sent off their own little spaceship. What was it called? It was called the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover. Don't know if you heard about that.
I didn't.
It was launched on July 30th, I believe. And it should coincide with the red planet on the 18th of February, 2021.
So how quicker is it to get there when you catch it at its closest point?
I don't know how much quicker it is. When it does go to the other side of the sun, I imagine that's quite far. But it's it only takes about 9 months, 8-9 months.
I feel like that's half the time. I'm sure I've heard before it takes 18 months to get to Mars.
Well, it's going to depend on when you leave. Although I don't know why you would leave at any other point. And it's going to depend on how fast you go.
Yeah, but
But no, it's only 8 months. Because we know that because they left in July and it's going to arrive in February. So it's that long. So this particular mission, the rover that they've just sent off, is it's another robotic explorer, a bit like the one we had before. It's a rover. It's designed to study rocks and geological processes. A bit like the Mars rover. Really, it's not that much different, to be honest with you. It's probably got. I'm sure it's got far more advanced technology on it, much better science. But from a layman's terms, it's basically doing the same thing. Anyway,
I mean, it's called Perseverance. Sorry to interrupt, but it's called Perseverance. I assume because the first two rovers have died on Mars, and this one isn't going to die. So maybe it's just got better coating.
Did it die? The other one's still, I didn't look that up in my research. I thought the thing was still sort of like still doing something.
No, I thought they both died. I'm not sure how they died. Like, I don't know, a sand clogged or something. But I mean, I suppose that's why they call perseverance, because this guy's going to make it.
Yeah, a bit like me with my topic. Back to it. So Elon Musk has a slightly grander view, grander objective, I should say, starting with making a self-sustaining city on Mars, as he says, preferably before World War III.
Oh, only preferably.
I think I might have added preferably, but he said before World War III. We already know that we have a finite existence on our planet, because the sun will eventually engulf it. But we don't know exactly whether we'll even last that long, or whether a meteor from space, a supervolcano, a human virus, perhaps, I don't know, or maybe just some moron with a nuclear football. We don't know what might kill us off, but we know that it's finite. So basically, he thinks that almost whatever it is, the objective should be to make ourselves multiplanetary, essentially to give us a choice. So arguably right now we might conclude that we don't deserve to exist. But if we can imagine that in 100 years from now, or 200 years from now, humans become a slightly wiser species, then Elon would like to give us the option of existing indefinitely. And from his perspective, he sees that as a future of us exploring the galaxy is an exciting future, and he does like a good reason to get out of bed in the morning. So that's his one, and he thinks other people share that view. So a self-sustaining city on Mars is the first objective. And by self-sustaining, it means that if for whatever reason flight between Earth and Mars was to end, that humans on Mars would not shortly thereafter perish. So it has to be fully self-sustaining. So in a Zoom podcast for the 2020 Mars Society event earlier this week, which is the other reason it's coming on today, Elon Musk he answered questions about SpaceX, the Starship, his tunnel-making company, the Boring Company, and all things interplanetary. But when he was asked how people could help us get to Mars, he said his company was providing the way to get to Mars, but what they also need is the will. And what could really help is if everyone who thinks that this is an important thing to try and do were to try and make it part of what people are at least talking about, as he thinks we should be at least spending 1% of our time thinking about it.
Yeah, good job.
Which is why we are here today, Craig. We are here to talk about it, to try and make it part of the conversation. Now, we're introverted people, but hopefully someone listening to us is slightly more extroverted than we are, and we'll maybe at next gathering, maybe ask a question for someone. That's what Elon would like us to do. That is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So let's start with some basics. What are the key differences between life on Earth versus life on Mars? So Mars is only half the size of Earth. Did you know that?
I did, yeah.
It's always referred to as like the sister planet, like it's the same sort of size, but it's like, it's like it's a younger sister. So it's only, half the size. That's in terms of a trip around the equator. But in terms of mass, it's only about 10% of the mass. And those two factors actually work against each other in terms of gravity. But the end result of those two mixed together is that the gravity on Mars would be about a third of what it is on Earth. So in context, that would be like my weight going down to be equal to that of my 6-year-old son's.
Yeah, that's pretty mad. I didn't realize it was so massless. Is it hollow or something?
Not sure that's the right term. No, it's not hollow, but it has because the planet is smaller. There's a shorter distance between the core of the planet and you on the edge of the planet, on the edge of the crust. And I think that, I might get this wrong, but I think that increases. So gravity is more effective the closer to the center. So I think that increases it. But it's also to do with the size of the planet. So because of that, because it's smaller, it decreases it. And then you mix those two things together and you end up with about 36% or something of our equivalent weight.
Okay.
So you've got a young child. Yeah, your weight would become that of your child's, basically.
Yeah.
So, what would that be like? Firstly, day-to-day life would just feel very different to us in terms of in our bodies. The lower gravity means that ultimately we need less strength to, stand up and hold our own bodies up. So our muscles and bones would not be as needed. They certainly wouldn't have evolved the way that they have if we lived on Mars in the first place. And so I think it would just feel quite disorientating, just day to day, a bit like, I think you would feel a bit like you were in a swimming pool, but without the restriction on movement, if you see what I mean.
Mm.
So you would just feel a bit weird every day. Although presumably one would just get used to it after a little while. There would also be a less dense atmosphere, which is currently what makes the planet unbreathable to us. It's affected quite heavily by solar winds, and it means there's less pressure. So things like water will boil away at low temperatures. Effectively, the planet cannot hold on to the atmosphere that we need. And this is why we would have to do something as drastic as maybe terraforming if we ever wanted to walk outside. Because essentially we need to create our own atmosphere in order to live there. Now, a day in the life of a Martian versus Earth is actually quite similar in the sense that it's the same amount of time. On Mars, you get an extra 45 minutes sleep every day. It's nice, isn't it?
Mm.
There's a benefit. It's also the planet's also tilted like Earth is, so they also have seasons. But the year is about equivalent to a year and 10 months for us. So summer is a lot longer, but then also winter's a lot longer too. But yeah, it does have a seasonal element to it. It takes a lot longer to achieve.
That's pretty cool.
All that sort of stuff will feel normal. But ultimately, Mars is a very dusty and a very, very cold planet, and it averages at minus 46 degrees Celsius. But it's quite a large vary, and that's the average. So it does get hot in places, but like the hottest day on the equator on Mars is the same as the hottest day that we get in the UK ever. So that's the top end, and then night times come and it's like minus 50 or whatever ridiculous temperature. So not pleasant really temperature wise. So there's a few we're living on Mars. A prolonged stay on Mars would mean that you would probably die of radiation poisoning or cancer. But the temperature is so cold you would freeze to death, except you can't breathe because there's not enough oxygen. So that would probably kill you a bit quicker. And due to the low atmospheric pressure, as I mentioned, water would boil. So would your blood. So you wouldn't even make it that long.
I mean, yeah, we've all seen that film with Arnie. He takes his helmet off. And the eyes come out. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would we? So given that we can't even step outside. How would we actually genuinely start a life on Mars? So in the same way that you don't let a dog off a leash until you know it can safely come back, our first objective would actually be to make the fuel to return home. So their first objective would be to make basically a methane plant. So there's water ice on the planet, apparently quite a lot of it. So mix that with the very, very high, like over 90%, 95%, something like that, concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, and you've got yourself methane, which is, from a chemical perspective, is CH4. And that's what they already use in their rocket engines anyway. So, but yeah, basically, if you can make the fuel there, then you don't need to worry about carrying it from here to there so that you can get back here. So that'd be probably the very first thing that we would do, is build something to make methane, so that we can reduce the weight and the cost of getting there in the first place. So, can you imagine being on that, like, the very, very first one, right, chaps? It's not. Hopefully, it's not a one-way flight. But if you can't make methane at the end, then it kind of is. So,
yeah.
Good luck. But I reckon that's probably what they'll have to do.
Yeah. I mean, the first flight, I don't imagine will come back. Because whatever happens, you're there for 2 years?
2.2, yeah.
It could take at least 9 months on the rocket. When you get there, yeah, don't know how long it will take to build this thing. Another year, perhaps. So then you're coming up to the window again, where you can go back, maybe with 3-4 months left. So then you go back. So whatever happens, it's going to be at least 2, 3 years.
Well, I guess if it takes 8 months to get there, so you leave about roughly 4 months before the close orbit point to halve the gap. So presumably you would do the opposite on the way back. You would leave. Well, no, you do the same. Sorry, but you'd also leave in July to get back. So yeah, I guess it would work out to be. Yeah, you'd have to take off at the same time as you did leave Earth, which was 4 months before the close point. And that happens every 2.2 years. So you'd spend 8 months getting there, and then a year and a half on the planet, and then you could leave to try and come back. But I would imagine they will probably be committed to being there for 2 cycles, not 1.
So they would be very self-sustaining.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay, how are we going to solve the food problem?
Well, okay, let's go through some. So what do we need? We need food, we need water, we need shelter, we need clothing, and as it's Mars, we also need oxygen. Final element on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Warmth.
Nope. Shelter includes that.
Going up it. Final element, that's in the peak.
No, that's the top one. No, it was added to the bottom one.
Food, oxygen, water, shelter.
Yeah. The missing one is Wi-Fi, of course.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. It was added as a fundamental need. Were you not aware of this? Wi-Fi.
I wasn't. I heard that internet connection became a human right, but I didn't realize it was part of.
I think on the day that happened, someone took the Maslow's hierarchy and went Wi-Fi. Either that, or they were complaining to BT at the time, and they're trying to illustrate their point. So let's start with food. So hydroponics could account for a percentage of our diet. Scientists say, well, there was a TED talk about this, and they said it will only account for 20% of our diet, which I didn't really understand, because in other research I've done on hydroponics, and we did cover vertical farming on episode 1, if you remember. Other places report you could probably more like 80% of your diet could be purely done on hydroponics. But the things you're missing out on would be stuff like bread and stuff, which you probably could live without. So obviously, highly vegan diet. There's I don't know whether there isn't as much done with root vegetables in hydroponics, but it's doable. So I would think that with more advancement in that area, that we could actually entirely live on hydroponics. But if not, if you did need to add more stuff, if protein was an issue or whatever, then the only other alternative would be to take a few boxes of dried food with you, basically, which obviously wouldn't be very sustainable. So
no,
that would be food. Early settlers would need to benefit. Well, it'd be helpful if they were quite green-fingered and patient to work out how to grow all the different variety of foods that we would need in order to live entirely off it. At the very least, it would help if you've been living on a vegan diet before you left. Otherwise, you may feel the need to, eat one of your fellow settlers because there'll be no other protein around.
Wow, they've already spent 8 months, as a vegan. So
well, yeah, but you might have had pot noodles. Effectively, you might have had something on the ship, but once that runs out, you would need to then be completely vegan.
Yeah,
that's interesting in itself. I think that actually, prerequisites list. Do you panic? No. Okay. Do you get on well with others? I do. Are you a vegan? Because if you're not, you're screwed.
I suppose it's, are you a vegan, or do you mind becoming one?
Well, yeah, but like having experience of actually having done it, because if you're got cravings, whatever, you're probably not going to be a very nice person to be around, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose these people would need to be weaned off everything, like sugar, everything.
Yeah.
For like probably a good year before they even get on that shuttle.
Yep. So that's fun. Next one is shelter. So first off, early life on Mars will be a lot like life in the UK in March. Stay in your bubble, don't go outside.
Right.
Okay. Early arrivals will probably just mostly live on the ship, which bear in mind that you've already been on that ship for 8 months with them getting there in the first place. That's an awfully long time, and we haven't even had that 8 months of COVID. The divorce rates have already gone through the roof, so I don't think we should underestimate how hard that might be. There's some different views on what the accommodation would be once you moved out of the ship, what the next accommodation would be. A lot of illustrations use illustrations of Mars sort of colonies, or use domes, like these sort of plastic dome things, basically, which are effectively easily erected, pressurized, and that's the important part there, tents, because if it's not pressurized, it won't work, because that's what causes our blood to boil. Other people have suggested making more traditional Earth-type structures using bricks made out of Martian soil, which you can basically stamp. I think it's got quite a high iron content in the soil, so with a bit of heat, it can be turned into quite a sturdy brick. And because the gravity is lower, you should be able to build quite a useful structure out of that. And then others suggest starting out using existing structures like underground caves and lava tubes. There's quite a lot of those, and really that's all you need in order to protect yourself from the solar radiation anyway. It's just some sort of thick-ish covering.
So go underground. And does the pressure increase by going underground? Do you solve the pressure problem too?
I don't believe you do, no. I think you'd still need to pressurize the tunnel. I think it might improve a little bit, but probably not enough. So if those are three very different. If you can imagine, you're now living on Mars. You've got one version where you live on the ship. So now you're thinking Star Trek, or pick your favorite sci-fi basically. or you've got a world that looks like the mud bricks of like ancient Egypt, where the terrain and the houses all look the same color. Or like I'm trying to think. There's that. Is it what's the planet called on Star Wars? Is it Tatooine? That sort of, like it's like a sand place basically, and all the houses are sort of.
Okay.
I can picturing that being like how it would look if you were building the house out of the same stuff that that is the ground is made of. Or you've got a underground city, and like the best illustration I have for that in my head was like Zion from the Matrix.
Yeah.
Big open cave with you sort of building machines to help you breathe and machines to do whatever you need to do, and then you living up in these little houses at the top. Those are three very apocalyptic style images in your head, but they're very different. Also, I just quite like thinking about that as a first one. Which one do you want to live in? Do you want to be Star Trek, Egypt, or Zion? There's a first choice to make. So anyway,
I'd go with Egypt if you could walk outside, but because you can't, that seems very depressing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at pictures of these old buildings in Egypt, I mean, they look pretty depressing by themselves.
Yeah, so I did go to Tunisia on holiday once, and we went down the Sahara Desert to see the Berbers, the people who actually live in the Sahara. And they live in little sand huts they've made from sand, stone, and stuff. And very basic.
Yeah.
I mean, very basic. So
not for any.
No. I mean, if I could walk outside, they don't spend any time in there. They haven't got doors and windows, for example. I don't need them. It's so warm. But on Mars, you got the opposite problem.
Yeah. I'm thinking you might end up with a combination of mostly the domes and the underground one. So like you'll sleep underground in homes that are built into the rock underneath the surface, but so that we don't all get depressed and go nuts, we'll all have to go up into these pressurized domes on the surface so that we get sunlight.
See, underground caves I'm not too sure on, because one of the theories of there's no aliens on the surface of Mars because they all live underground.
Well, I mean, that's a whole different thing. I mean, yes.
That's where you'd be, really.
Yeah, and that's where the point where something really weird happens and it, takes over the, like all the movies, and, you all get picked off one by one. Can't work out what's going on.
I like staying on the surface. Yeah. Assuming there's all like massive sandworms or something.
This is a lava tube, isn't it? No, it's a wormhole.
Yeah, why is it moving?
The other wormhole.
Yeah.
So we also need water. So actually, for ages we didn't know whether there's any water on Mars. It was seemed like it's just desert land, but there's actually lots of it. But it's all in the form of water ice and large ice caps, especially near the poles. So we could just heat that up, and that will give us water. Alternatively, there's plenty of water vapor in the air, which doesn't stay there because it gets blown away by the solar winds and stuff. But the vapor is there, so I think something like 60% or something, water vapor in the air. So you can just extract it basically by making it.
It's humid.
Basically, yeah, you just build a very large dehumidifier. It's at some point it's 100% humid.
Oh, okay.
So build a massive dehumidifier. Job done. Next up, we need clothing. Now, it's a bit of a weird one, but apparently due to the lack of pressure and gravity and stuff, we would probably need special clothes to sort of to add pressure back to our bodies so that, we stay where we're supposed to. So there was like a picture of one of what it looked like. And it basically had like, it was quite a skin tight suit, but it had like sort of almost things like tied around it to sort of to pull it in a little bit to sort of hold you in. Basically, it was a very cool straitjacket, or like wearing a corset.
Yeah, I seem
They're a wall corset, but it looked a bit like the idea of you going straps are in. Right, okay, I'm good.
Is it all black as well? Like
no, it was white with red lines and stuff. It was very cool looking. No,
it's not gimpy at all. Like
no, it's much cooler than any clothes I've got. And as I mentioned, because we are on Mars, the other issue we have is oxygen. CO2 obviously is 66% by definition oxygen. So we can just extract it from the atmosphere, again, with some sort of machine. Or as time progresses, we can use the CO2, the 95% CO2 to grow plants and trees. And then in return, do a bit of a deal. We'll give you some of the carbon dioxide that's already here. You give us some oxygen. Nice one. But whatever the method, we'll just be able to pump it into whatever structure we've built. And then I don't suppose once it's done, we would really notice any difference. So basically, as long as you don't venture outside, life is wonderful. I imagine it's probably going to be very similar to living or staying in a hotel in Cuba, or living next door to a Trump rally. It's all good. Just don't go out there, and you'll be fine. Probably die. And then finally, Wi-Fi, which of course, as it's Elon Musk, we could just make another set of Starlink satellites orbiting the Earth, and there won't be needed as many of them because it's smaller. But I'm already hearing the word monopoly screaming. So, but basically, their idea of connecting us from Earth to Mars is something orbiting Earth, a satellite orbiting Earth, a satellite orbiting Mars, and then a laser that goes in between the two of them. Big freaking laser.
How long will that take?
No idea. But that's how we're going to solve the Wi-Fi problem. So we've already got a plan for that. That's all good. But long term, obviously, these are all sort of the first guys there. People are going to start us off. That's probably not going to be. Well, it isn't going to be most of us. It's going to be highly trained engineers and scientists. So, seeing as this is about the will of the people, we need to think about what it will be for the second generation of people, or third or fourth. So in order to achieve anything that's remotely livable, we would need to terraform the planet. So one idea is to put like a massive mirror, basically, a satellite mirror, which points at the ice caps and just reflects the sun's heat directly onto the ice cap.
Okay.
And that will release a whole bunch of presumably even more carbon dioxide, I guess, and other stuff. I guess, that's it. So it might be 95% carbon dioxide, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a high density, because it is a low. It's a low dense.
Yeah.
Not dense. Opposite of dense. Atmosphere. So we need, even though it might be 95% carbon dioxide, there's just not much of it. So if we can release more, then that's good. But yes, as you say, if we plant a ton of trees, then they're happy because they've got carbon dioxide, and they'll release oxygen, and then we're all good. They reckon it might take 20 years to do.
Melt the caps, or actually get the mirror in place and everything as well.
No, 20 years, assuming the mirror's already in place and melting.
Oh, right.
Take 20 years to warm up the planet enough.
That seems pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, it's very quick. Yeah.
I thought you could say hundreds of years to actually do the job. I thought 20 years just to melt the bloody thing.
So melting it will release the atmosphere, which will create the atmosphere, and then once it's got an atmosphere around the planet, then it will obviously retain its heat, and then it will slowly warm up. So we might be able to melt caps in a lot less time, but it will take, I reckon, 20 years before it creates enough of an atmosphere for us to actually breed there.
Right. Why haven't we started already?
Well, because we haven't got there yet, have we? So.
Well, we can't get to Mars. Just, why send rovers? Send mirrors.
And mirrors. They probably want to do a bit more research because, we're ashamed to mess
up before we even get there. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, Mars. Oh, I didn't realize you were living didn't realize you guys were living there in that cave. Sorry I killed you all.
Yeah.
And melting your caps.
Yeah.
You should have said something.
Yeah. Why didn't you let us know? Did you not use WhatsApp? What the hell?
So kill the robots. Just talk to them.
Yeah. So so an early colony on Mars is probably it's going to happen, and I reckon it'll happen in our lifetime. What do you think?
Definitely.
So the questions that we want people to ask themselves is to start thinking about, okay, well, let's now imagine that we've sent the scientists, they've started the terraforming process, they've built a couple of things for us to breathe on. We've now got a ship that goes every 2 and a bit years where you can get on it. Do you want to get on? And if so, why? Like, once you get there, there's presumably someone's gonna make the first restaurant, the first bar, the first
new life.
Yeah, software business. I don't know. It's anything, frankly. It could be whatever. So outdoor go-karting. I mean, I don't know. It literally could be anything. But we need people that would want to go and do that. So do you see that being you? Do you see it being your kids?
Grandkids, probably.
How would the planet even run? Like, what would the government bit be? Would it be a democracy? Would it be red versus blue like we normally have? Would it be a pie system, or would it, we'll design a new one? And if so, who the hell's designing that? There are questions. There are lots of things to solve. Okay, so that's today's topic. Life on Mars. What I ask is that next time you go to a party or something, you raise these questions, you have a conversation with it to someone else about it. That is your act for the week. And other than that, think, educate, and act. And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.